the 2027 gets closer, there is thicker, and Nigerians are looking forward to what comes in the year 2027 as the general elections is very close. But one thing is very certain: Nigerians are not given to corny behaviors and unfulfilled promise anymore. Everyone must be accountable for why they were elected into office. This is Speak Your Truth. My name is Ademola Lawrence. And my guest on the show today is one that back in the days when it was Bring Back Our Girls, she was always on the move. Everybody knows her. Then comes October 2020. She was known for her iconic picture where she was fighting for the right of every Nigerian youth. Welcome with me on Speak Your Truth, Aisha Yesufu. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
Interesting discussions we're going to have. First, let's start this way. Just to backtrack a bit. 2023 general elections. There were a whole lot of issues that came up as a result of that election. You were one of those persons who felt the 2023 elections didn't paint the true picture of what really happened. How do you justify, or how do we see that going forward from 2023 to 2027, the lacuna that we experienced, we don't experience it come 2027?
Okay. So it wasn't as if there were a lot of issues, It wasn't as if there were a lot of issues in 2023. The main thing is that the election was rigged. And it was rigged in the way the mandate of the people was stolen. And so that's that on one point. Unfortunately, the whole institutions that led towards that stealing of the mandate, there's really nothing that has been done to ensure that the same thing doesn't happen again. So usually when you see something that is wrong, normally what will happen, for example, you saw when the late President Yaradua came into office and he admitted that the process that brought him in wasn't, the kind of process that, should be in a country, and he was determined to fix it. So we didn't see anything like that right now. So the institutions that did the same thing, they stay there. Nothing has been done. INEC is still there the way it is. Security agencies are still there the way they are. So what is going to change is the people. For me, I've said severally that INEC is not the problem. The people in INEC are the problem. The judiciary is not the problem. The people in the judiciary are the problem. So if we begin to look at it as individuals, as every one of us, what is the role that we're supposed to play that we didn't play rightly, and begin to correct it, then we will have a situation where we are leading to getting the mandate of the people truly count. For me, I really don't care what the result is, as long as it is what the people wanted. For example, if the process, there was free, fair, credible election, the election was not rigged, and the result was still what we had, then fine. It then shows that is what the people want. Because when you take away the mandate of the people, that's a civilian coup. And so most times the world frowns at military coup, but they're okay with elections being stolen, which is even worse, because you've had lots of money have been spent, people have people's emotion, psychologically people are affected, they go out there, they choose who they want, and then that is taken away from them. So what I think for me, it's, are we ready as a people to say, we will take responsibility for the way the election goes? And for every citizen to understand that if you go to the polling unit and you put down your thumbprint, you take the ink, you put the thumbprint, until and unless your vote is counted for your candidate, what you mainly did is paper painting. So if we get to that place and then we are insisting as citizens that our votes must count, that's what is going to make the difference. Otherwise, it's going to be the same story.
Talking about the same story, if you look at the issues that were raised in 2023 and look at how the country deals with it, it looks as if Nigerians just moved on.
Nigerians moved on. A lot of Nigerians were disappointed, and some are more so. So let me just backtrack a little bit to say, you talked about NSAS earlier on. What you saw in 2023 was the pain from NSAS. Remember when the killings happened at the Lekki toll gate and citizens were very, sad, angry, and a whole lot of emotions that were going on at that time. There was a certain kind of disdain and arrogance that came from the politicians. And they kept saying, if you don't like what happened, change us. So, and we had a situation whereby there was a certain demography of Nigeria, which is the youth, who had hitherto not seen how brutal government can be. For them, you have those who were born, after democracy had come in, or those who were very young when the military were there. They really didn't, face that brutality, and they were all living their own life until 2020, when government will come after them just because they said, stop killing us. And so at that time, we now had them take interest in elections, in the democracy. Remember also, for those of us who lived during the military era, we knew how hard, it was almost impossible.
Yeah.
We thinking we were going to see democracy. So the way we related to democracy was different from the people who all their lives with democracy they've done. So what's the big deal, about it? So for them, they now decided they were going to participate in that election, and they started calling out for people to register and all of that. So that's why you saw the interest that was in there. And then at the end of the day, the result that was supposed to happen was not allowed to happen. The whole thing, was truncated. And so having said that is to say, the people now are the ones who are going to decide that this is what, they need to do, and this is what they want to see at the end of the day.
Politicians are very full of rhetorics, and it becomes a very big challenge when you see that almost every election cycle, they go to the people, they tell them, they make promises, and at the end of the day, those promises are actually not fulfilled. It happened even before 2023. There were so many promises that were made. But going into 2027, and you look at all the hula baloo that's been happening, from Labour Party into ADC, into SDP, into the ruling party themselves and the opposition, PDP. How do you think that we need to start dealing with politicians who don't keep to their words?
So the thing, like the Americans saying, they say, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? For the politicians, it's not broken. They're having a ball. They're having the best time of their lives. You understand? You come, you just give a few, you make the people poor. First of all, just give out a few notes, few money. Poverty has been weaponized, and they're getting away with it. So we need to understand that for the politicians, they want the status quo to continue because they're really benefiting from the status quo. It is the people now whom the status quo is not favoring. And so it's a whole lot of things. And I will tell you something. We have an issue with religion. Religion has been weaponized.
Okay.
And it's used to enslave the people. So between the religious rulers and the political rulers, there's a symbiotic relationship. The political rulers, they need the religious rulers to continue to keep the people subdued so that there's no uprising, nobody is speaking against them. And so that's why you find in the Christian world, they tell you that, seek for your own miracle. Get that miracle. So everybody is finding for something that they're going to get for them to God's grace. Yeah. People are looking for God's grace. So as far as they're concerned, if they are okay, even if the country is not okay, then nothing happens. It's fine for them. And then you find that in the Muslim world, they're telling you that, look, don't bother about this world. After all, you're just on a journey here. When you die, you're going to go to heaven. You enter paradise.
Exactly.
So leave government alone and all of that. So that's how they keep the people subdued. The religious rulers, on the other hand, they need the political rulers to give bad governance so that they can continue to sell cheap miracles. So
you need to explain that.
I will explain that.
Okay.
So, for example, now you see somebody who is going to do a Thanksgiving because they got visa to a certain country. So it's almost like a miracle. I pray. And then you see some people will bring their certificates. They take it to their pastors, their malams, their babalawos for them to pray on it, for them to get a job. So when they get a job, it's a miracle. But guess what? There are countries where before you even leave school, jobs are waiting for you. You actually get a job before you even leave universities because the economy is, expanding. There are job opportunities there. Whereas here in Nigeria, the job opportunities, they are not as many as they should be. The economy is contracting. We're not having more jobs, right? So when you're praying, you think it's a miracle that you've gotten just because you got a job. It's not in another place. That's the way it's supposed to be. Then you talk about visa. When you see people fasting and praying because they want to get the visa to a certain country, guess what? There are countries like Singapore. Singapore has their passport is the strongest in the world. I think 108 something or 60 something countries that is visa free for them. For someone who is a Singaporean who doesn't even need to look for visa to go to 100 and something countries, either 100 and something, 185, I'm not too sure now. It's not a miracle. But for you, because you have bad governance, it becomes miracle. And I'll give you an example. I read on Twitter the other day a lady who said that her mom, growing up, her mom would always pray whenever anybody is traveling, right? And so she's married, that whenever her husband is traveling, she pray. But now they are abroad. Guess what? She said when he's traveling, she gives him a hug, she goes in, eat her healthy meal, and she goes to sleep. You know why she was praying while we were doing all of those prayers?
Yeah.
Because the roads are bad. Because you're going to probably see armed robbers. Now we have, terrorists on the road. So we are always praying. So bad governance, then that means what? You're doing more, leading you more to keep praying. Where our mates are praying for inner peace, relationship with God, we're busy praying for bread and butter. We're busy praying for good roads. We're busy praying to have, good hospital money to eat. So that's where, whenever there's that bad governance, it gives the religious rulers opportunity for them to sell cheap miracles that, in other words, are not really miracles in other countries. There are so many things. For me, like I say, you talked about NSAS earlier. What was NSAS all about? NSAS was Nigerian youth coming to say, look, please stop killing us. First of all, these are youths that we have not given them enabling environment for them to thrive in Nigeria. And then, in spite of that, they found niches for themselves. Due to the social media, due to technology, they're able to do a lot of things, they're earning money, yet we were still coming after them, being killed. A young man or a young woman will be killed because they have dreadlocks, because they have tattoos, because they have, fancy cars, or they're well-dressed, or they even have good laptops. That's enough for someone to be killed. And so they came on the street. And then what did the Nigerian government do? The Nigerian government went on to validate the statement where a policeman will say to you, I will kill you, nothing will happen. And indeed, they killed. Nothing happened.
Interesting. I remember that after that case of the NSAS, there was a panel of inquiry that was set up. Mm-hmm. And the panel of inquiry actually indicted the Lagos state government, and all of those things, and compensations were supposed to be made. Are you satisfied with that?
I'm not satisfied with it because at the end of the day, whenever there's bad behavior, there should be consequences. But I'm satisfied with the part that the panel did their bit. And the thing also was that there was also other states where panels were supposed to be set up. They never did. So yeah. Lagos State, at least the panel was set up. They had the independence to actually be able to make a pronouncement. That is good. There are also some places where they're supposed to set up, they weren't set up. I think the white paper that was brought out of that, the panel did their bit. Okay. So the rest is left for the government and the people, to actually do that. But over time, we've had a lot of places where panels have indicted people and nothing happened. Okay. I remember some cases. I think there's a case of police brutality where a young man was killed in Kano. At the end of the day, the person got on to get promotion and continued. And so when you see all of this thing, it becomes heartbreaking. And so that's why when people are talking about patriotism and say that citizens are not being patriotic to Nigeria, you find out that there are a lot of people who have been hurt, where there's no justice, equity. They haven't gotten that from Nigeria. They've gotten a lot of injustice. And so you don't expect that the way others will be patriotic to their country, they are always standing with them, that ours will be there too. But it's, in a way, a precedent has been said, that has been put out there. It did indict the Lagos State. And if you see where, even with the Lagos State, where they said the killings that happened at the toll gate did not happen, but you will see that a contract was given to go and bury NSAS victims. that were kept in the mortuary for, I think that was a year or two after the whole NSAS the killing had taken place. Because at the place where the unarmed protesters were being killed, they were also doing videos immediately. If you check on like you said, the internet never forgets. If you check, you still see those videos where people were saying, oh, they're carrying the bodies away. So like they're carrying away the evidence. But we saw in Nigeria where people were sort of gaslit and told that nothing like that, no killings happened and all of that. But at the end of the day, we're piling up pains upon pains. And that's why you see when people now go brutal and they go against the country and they carry arms, you always find that people who go meet either terrorists, bandits, or whatever, maybe trying to negotiate or something, they always come back feeling a bit sympathetic to them, because when you then hear their stories, a good number of them, you find the way places where Nigeria has actually been unjust, to them. But at the end of the day, Nigeria is always ready to negotiate with those who carry arms against it and then kill those who are unarmed and who simply protest legally to them.
I want us to talk about your principal, which is, of course, Peter Obi, and the Labour Party. Before we now move to the ADC, I was at the ADC when the ADC was adopted. I saw you. I saw the way you did, and I saw the statement you released after. But let's talk about Peter Obi and the Labour Party and the crisis that is rocking the Labour Party. I remember that I covered that press conference where Julius Abure was talking about how all of the things that have happened in Labour Party, and Peter Obi is not coming forth with the style of Peter Obi's leadership is not coming forth. It's not bringing everybody together. Do you think that is the case? And do you also, the Julius Abure-led committee also, I think you, Pastor Itu Godalo, I know you have responded to that though, where they said that, money was mismanaged, which of course you responded to that vehemently and said it never happened. But how do you see all of these things crumbling the party that, was the bride in 2023?
So because Julius Abure has done a lot of, media presentations, so I wouldn't know which specifically you're talking about, but I'll just give an overview of what I think, some of the things I remember he has talked about. So if, like, a chairman of the party is saying that the leadership style of Mr. Peter Obi, according to him, is a problem, at what time is he going to take responsibility as the chairman of the party? That's the leader. You are the leader. Why are you saying leadership this thing of someone else? That's number one. Secondly, is to say that Mr. Peter Obi has always been one who believes in the process of things being done. I think one of his famous statements is that if you want to be called Your Excellency, the process that brings you in must be excellent. And he has never been one to allow anything that is done in a manner in which it's not supposed to be done. And so in every action that he has taken, and he has done that a lot, it's to ensure that the process is followed, the constitution is followed, and all of that. What brought all of this issue? You want to do, what do they call it? I think they call it convention, right?
Yes.
And he's saying, why are you doing a national convention when you've not done the world congresses? That's where it starts from. Why do you want to change the leadership? Your tenure is over, right? And you just want to change the leadership at the top. You need to do the world congresses. That's how it follows. Then they do the states, and then it comes down. You now do the national. But, you're starting with the national. There's also the place that I know. One of the things that happened between them, where he wanted to be the Edo State governor, and he had come to Mr. Peter Obi over the fact that he wanted to be Edo State governor.
You mean Julius Abure?
Julius Abure, yeah. I mean Julius Abure. And he had come to that place, and Mr. Peter Obi said, fine, if you want to be the Edo State governor, you can be the chairman and still be the Edo State candidate. That doesn't, it doesn't speak of a party that is saying that they want to be different. And so if you want to do this, you need to resign. And he felt that, I supported you all throughout your presidential candidacy. Why are you not supporting me now? So that's a part of the things. Another thing also, and I think a lot of people do not understand, is that, so the way the party is set up, the constitutional leader of the Labour Party is Governor Alex Otti. Why? By virtue of the fact that he is the highest elected official. If Peter Obi had been sworn in as a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he then would have been the constitutional leader of the party. But of course, we all know that Peter Obi is the de facto leader. But Peter Obi, like I said, is somebody who follows processes. And he's not going to come and start wanting to lord it over you, or because I'm the de facto leader, everybody sees me as a leader. So whatever he did, he worked, in accordance with Governor Alex Otti in relating, because some people feel that he needs to come and make public pronouncements and all of that. No, he did a lot of things. He gave that leadership role in everything that needed to be done. Like even the Edo elections with the primaries, his own insistence was that there should be primaries. The primaries should be free and fair, and there should not be any money primaries or whatever. And so sometimes I ask people, do we really want change? Or is it that we just want our own to be in there? And so these are some of the things. So I don't understand where people talk about this leadership that Mr. Peter Obi is not providing leadership. That's wrong. That's not factual. He provided leadership the way it needs to be. And on the issue of the party, all throughout, he stayed on. Even the Inner convention that they did, if Mr. Peter Obi was someone who was selfish and wanted things for himself, guess what would have happened? He would have accepted that convention, because in that convention, they named him as a candidate for 2027 election. That's locked down. If he's somebody who is selfish, who is just thinking about himself alone, that's what would have happened. But no, Mr. Peter Obi is not someone who is selfish. He's someone who believes in the process. Do the right thing. I don't want to be a beneficiary of something that it's not right. And so even though, in spite of the fact that they had, named him as the presidential candidate, which would have been locked down because INEC is there, then that means 2027, there's no need for any election, anywhere, any primaries or whatever, it's already locked down. He said, no, you need to follow the process as it is. On the issue of the Labour Party saying that, myself, Pastor Itua, that there's another, we're three. I think there's three of you. We're three or four, so the other one's name is not out there, so let's leave it at that. So that they stole the money. So the first thing I asked, how did we steal Labour Party's money? We had nothing to do with Labour Party. We're not members of Labour Party. We're not the financial secretary, neither the treasurer. And I think a lot of people, whether in the media or space, like when you're asking this question, I'm looking at it and thinking, there is a Madam Oluchi, who is treasurer of Labour Party, who came out to accuse Abure of stealing and looting and transferring whatever Labour Party money to his own accounts. That's the question that you should be asking. The Labour Party, we never had anything to do with the Labour Party. The Labour Party raised money. In short, they started raising money before the Obidient campaign started raising money. The account that we handled is the Obidient fundraising account, which was for the presidential candidate. And I can tell you that Labour Party started raising money publicly. They had their accounts out there. It was even on the air. They had money enough to, put it out there on radios and all of that. Nobody is asking them, where is the money that you received? Often now they have not accounted for it. They're even hiding it. I had to go back to, I think when those whole things happened, I had to go back to them, to their handle, to the Labour Party handle, and screenshot it and say, look at where you guys were raising money. Come and say, we have put out, our own, the monies that we received and accounted for everything and handed over. There's an account, I think it's about 18 or more pages, I can't remember now, that was handed to them, to the presidential candidate. And then we put out a summarized version of what we collected, what we spent, what was left, and we put it out there. And we said, if there's anyone who wants to check, feel free to go in and check the whole thing. So when the Labour Party, they keep talking about some millions of dollars that we had stolen, I'm wondering, if we had millions of dollars, will you have seen us looking for campaign material all over the place? We would not have put billboards all over the country and all of that. But at the end of the day, for me, I don't have issues with accusations, as long as I know they are not true. Okay. You will make your accusations, you will throw your mud, but I can assure you that it will not stick anywhere. And that's it for me. So anybody is free to go and investigate. By the way, it's not even Abure that would have been making accusation if Aisha Yesufu had done anything wrong. It's not Abure. There are so many parties that would want to, because there's so many that want to see, oh, this Aisha Yesufu, her mouth is too, because I have a big mouth, physically and figuratively, and I use it to an extent, whether you're in government or it's an illegitimate government or whatever it is, I will use it. And so there are a lot of people who have been out there, making this say, for the number of times that they have said that I've looted their money and I've helped them to tag EFCC. Please come and investigate. I'm open to investigation at any time. Because people must understand that there are people who go in there and they do the work and they don't have to touch any dime. Because most times what you see that people throw mods looking at what will stick. Please, anybody that wants to investigate, a lot have done, it's open.
So what you're just trying to say in essence is that the account for the Obidient movement was different from what...
Absolutely, it's different. It's different from the Labour Party. I'm not a member of Labour Party. How would I have handled it? But when they are talking, they say that their Labour Party money, we took their Labour Party.
Yeah.
But that's why I say Oluchi is there. She made. Are you aware of that?
Of course, I am.
Exactly.
I know.
So that is their Labour Party. We don't know how much went to them or did not go. They are two separate accounts.
Okay, so before we get to the ADC matter and how the Obedience movement is trying to want to handle it, I want to ask a question, which is of course is on majority of Nigerians who are seeing your principle, which is of course Peter Obi. Some feel that when he takes on issues, sometimes it's partisan in terms of when things happen in the Southeast, he's a bit partisan. It gets to him. And he doesn't talk about it. Maybe he gets to him, but he doesn't talk about it. When things happen in Lagos, or probably in the Southwest, for example, or in the South, or in the North, he gets to jump on it. And some persons are saying, if this is the pattern, then there's a problem of who a leader should be. How do you react to that?
Is there a pattern, or you decide to see what you want to see? You or those people decide to see what they want to see. So that's the thing. People are looking for what it is that confirms their biases. So when certain things happen, they don't see it. They don't look at it. When he speaks about the South, it's, oh, okay, now them. It's just like when people accuse you and say, oh, you are a Muslim. But when they ask you don't say anything about it. But when you say they don't see it. But they want to see what they want to see. So that's not factual. Mr. Peter Obi talks about everything. That's the president we have in this country. And the hypocrisy of Nigerians is the fact that you have someone who rigged the election, who put himself there, an illegitimate president, who whenever Nigerians are being killed, never says anything, but Nigerians won't talk. But they are quick to come and say that, oh, Mr. Peter Obi has spoken about this or not spoken about it. When he speaks about the killings in the Southeast, you can go to his handle and Google Southeast or any of at least we have 5 states in the Southeastern region, right?
Yeah.
Go there most of his statements are on his Twitter account. If you go there, put every state and see whether you will not see statements on those things. But when he does it, it's nothing because it's felt as if, it's his part now, or that, would he not? But when something happens in Lagos, because right now we're having a bigotry that has been institutionalized since the coming of, Tinubu, we have a bigotry that has been institutionalized where before it's a handful of people who were talking on social media, now there's a backing that goes with it and they're telling you that, oh, you can't say anything about Lagos. Nobody has the right to tell anyone not to say anything about any state as long as you go to Abuja to go and collect that federal allocation. It is the money from somewhere put together that you ought to collect. So every one of us as Nigerians, we have a right to speak about any country, any state in Nigeria, whether it is Sokoto, whether it is Edo, whether it is Borno, whether it is Rivers or Ebonyi. Everybody has a right to speak about these things. And what people should do is to hold the person who rigged his way into office to get himself sworn in as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is supposed to be the commander-in-chief, who happens not to act that role and keeps quiet when people are being killed. That's what Nigerians should focus on. But of course, Nigerians will do that. They look for the ones that they can attack. I always say that Nigerians are in an abusive relationship with their government. And so as much as possible, when they see someone and then we also self-destruct. When they see someone who has that competence and can do the right thing to take Nigeria out of where it is, they will fight it. Because they are so used to bad governance, lack of accountability, lack of transparency. They're so used to things not working. So it's almost as if, if things start working, it will look different. You know, sometimes you have people in an abusive relationship, you want to take them out, they even be fighting you. You become the enemy and they're defending the people that are abusing them. That's what we are in Nigeria.
Let's talk about the ADC and the adoption of the ADC. I was there when that happened. I saw where you sat down. I think I was in your front. And I saw when Dati Baba Ahmed came in and eventually left. And I saw the statement that you put out eventually. And there was one statement you also made about...
I have a lot of statements.
Yes,
you need to remind me which one.
So there's one you made about Erufai.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's you find it, being in the same room, having to have the same discussion. But before we even get to that, do you think that the ADC is a de facto party for some politicians? Let me put it this way: there are insinuations that ADC is for Atiku Abubakar. It's because of him, everybody. But the Obidient movement, because I've been monitoring, and they're saying, then if this ticket is not coming to the South, we'd rather not be part of this coalition. Do you buy that idea of where it has to be fair and square? We'll go to the primaries.
So the thing is this. So sometimes when people make attribute statements to the Obidient movement, I'm thinking, is that Obidient movement or individuals?
Okay.
So there's a difference. If if I make a statement, that's not Obidient movement making a statement. That's Aisha Yesufu. Members of the Obidient movement, that's individual members. So we need to also look at this thing. So the thing is this. There's a way that Nigeria has done its election, especially at the presidential level, where they talk about zoning. I am one person who has never been interested in zoning, and don't take this out of context. If you do, I'll do a video. Put the video the way you've seen it.
Okay.
I've never been. I've always said, okay, let it be. But the Nigerian at the national level has a precedent of saying, because of the kind of federal character, the kind of things we've seen in the country, to put things and make it fair, it goes to the South and then it comes to the North. I will give you an example. In my state, Edo State, we have Edo has finally carried last. I don't know they carried last before. We have a governor that was able to come in because people felt zoning has to be done. And for me, I'm finding it a bit funny that the same people who were calling for zoning in my state, because I've always said zoning doesn't necessarily, it's not the best way for you to get the best candidate. And I still maintain that. Zoning is not the best way for you to get the best candidate. But in my own state, the same people who just maybe a year or so, less than a year ago, were saying zoning has to be done in Edo State, all of a sudden are saying zoning shouldn't be done at the federal level, right? So if at the federal level you've had a zoning that was done to say South and North, and that's why in PDP 2018, all the people who were running for office were Northerners, because it was termed as if it was the time for the North for it to come. Just the way that you have, if you don't do Muslim or Christian ticket, what you do is if you have a Muslim president, then the running mate should be Christian. If it's a Christian president, the running the vice should be a Muslim. It was just to put a balance because of how fragile the country, had been. Now we have come to a place where in 2018, that's where they said it was supposed to be the turn of the North. The Southern candidate, that's in PDP, did not do. Then you came to 2023, it was distorted. And by one person who felt it needed to be distorted. Oh, everybody has to now do it. And nobody is blaming that person. Nobody is blaming that party, PDP, by the way. And then they now got it distorted. And now you're saying that, it wouldn't fly. Let me tell you something. At this moment, Nigeria does not have the luxury of zoning or not zoning. You know what we have? The luxury we have, the only luxury we have, is to say, who is the most competent candidate? That's the question that should be. And ADC needs to answer itself. Does it want to win election or does he want to participate in election? At this very moment where that we are in Nigeria today, and that's why sometimes I say, how I wish I was not a Peter Obi supporter, so that when I say this thing, people don't feel that it's because I'm biased. At this stage where we're in, the person who will motivate Nigerians to come out, to vote, to believe is Mr. Peter Obi. And if ADC knows it's not just about participating. You can participate, anybody can participate in election. If you are not interested in winning, no problem. If it's not about participating, but it's thinking about winning election, it should be having a consensus. It's not even zoning. For me, it's not even about zoning, because we are at a place where the nation is on a brink. It's about to fall. People are suffering. You and I, we are here. We are in a room, beautiful environment. Do you see this beautiful environment? There are people all through their life in Nigeria will never be in this kind of room. They have never known what an AC is. And until they die, currently, they will never know what an AC is. Those are the people we should be concerned about. Not you, people like you and I that can speak English. We can go home and eat our 3 square meals, not a problem. Maybe what annoys us is that, oh, now I have to buy ticket more expensive. We are not the ones that this whole thing should be about. It's about the people who can eat. It's about the children who are dying, who shouldn't be dying. It's about those children that UNICEF is having to, look for donation for them, because they are starving to death. So if we're talking about those things, then it's not about zoning. It's about a consensus for the ADC leadership to sit down. And this is what I think, and this is not an Obidient movement position. This is an Aisha Yesufu's position.
Okay.
The ADC is supposed to sit down and say, who do we have today that will motivate people to come, that can defeat and has defeated before? Because you see now, even those people who were part of the APC that rigged the election, they have come out one way or the other to tell you that indeed they rigged the election and where Peter Obi had won and they had subverted those votes. That's story for another day, right? And so if they sit down and they will choose that candidate, and I can tell you that whatever indices they use, it will still come back to one person, Mr. Peter Obi. And when you have that Mr. Peter Obi, so the next thing for me also is this. Why are we even leaving this to the politician? Let me tell you something. Even if you have the next 20 years of disastrous leadership in Nigeria, the current Nigerian politicians who are top there, they are not affected, because some of them have as much money for even their descendants, right? The people who are currently affected, seriously, are Nigerian people. And we are the ones that are supposed to sit down and hold these parties and say to them, hey, give the right person who can lead Nigeria to good governance and give it good governance, lead it to greatness, give this ticket to him. But we aren't doing that. We've left it to politicians, and we are saying, okay, let them make the choices, because, of course, most Nigerians, you know why? We abdicate our responsibilities. We want to pray to God. We forget that God will not do for us what he has given us the capacity for us to do for ourselves. So for me, the conversation at ADC should not be about zoning. The conversation should be consensus, candidacy. It's there in their constitution. They have it in their constitution. And choosing the person who is most competent, the person who has the most empathy, the person who has been there for Nigeria, who has been speaking for Nigeria, who you have seen since the last election, even though his victory was taken away from him, it was free, has stayed on the course of Nigeria. The person that when Nigerians wake up, they say, has he made a statement on this issue? Has he not made a statement on this issue? That is the de facto president, and that's the person they should be putting up as a candidate.
And that's Peter Obi that you're talking about?
That is Mr. Peter Gregory Obi.
I'm wondering how. Now I'll take you back to your statement on Peter Malama Nasir El-Rufai, and I'm just wondering how you saw what happened with the likes of Malama Nasir El-Rufai, the former Attorney General, and how someone like you is able to have a seat. Probably, I'm just figuratively, to say these people can be in the same. I can be in the same camp with these people. To say, and they come out to say they are part of a coalition that want to take Nigeria out of what it is, the quagmire that we are now, knowing fully well that the things that they did while they were in office. Because when you made that statement, I kind of reasoned with you that you are finding it very difficult because of the things that this person has been known for. How, how do you match that? Knowing that you have your core principles and sometimes it doesn't even align with these people.
So the question you should ask also is the father, did I go to them or did they come to me? Did we go to them or did they come to us? So if they get into a room, we should leave the room for them to control the room and lead the country. So remember what I said. It's not about you and I. For my personal thing, I can afford to say, I can sit on a sanctimonious throne. I'm not going to work with anybody. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do. But I know that as I am, by the grace of God, I don't wake up looking for the next meal to eat. But there are people who wake up looking for the next meal to eat. So it's about them. And if I leave the room because they have entered the room, for them to continue and then get into another set of leadership after the one they did before, that's a different thing. If today, for example, they say an El-Rufai is a presidential candidate, and you see an Aisha following an El-Rufai that is a president, then you can ask that question and say, how do my values align? He's not. What is he? He came in. You understand? I have a presidential candidate. I have a candidate, and that candidate is Mr. Peter Gregory Obi, right? And there are people who have seen, okay, this guy has this thing, and they come in. I'm ready to sit in the same room with them. But what I know is that on this project, Nigeria, I will not allow them to truncate it. They are not the lead. If I leave, they will be able to take more of my position and become and add to that lead that they have, and then become the ones who are how do I put it now? Who are calling the shots in the affairs. Let me tell you something. Like I said in that tweet, as far as I'm looking at the nuisance value of Malam Nasir El-Rufai. There is no love lost between me and Malam Nasir El-Rufai. Before the 2015 election, you understand, I was the opinion that probably he's going to be governor, and I would have campaigned for him. I voted for him. I left Abuja, I was staying in Abuja, went to Kaduna because I believed in him. Just the way that Soludo today, I believe in Soludo. Before he came in and I was like, okay, what is this? But when he got in and power got to his head and he started doing all those things that he was doing, no.
You mean in Southern Kaduna?
I'm talking, yes, in Southern Kaduna, and if Kaduna, the way, a whole lot of things in Kaduna, like, no, what is this? I can't be part of this. But now, this is where it becomes interesting. Nasir El-Rufai is angry, and rightfully so, in all honesty, because the way he was treated by Tinubu, it's something else. He had said, and the way that he was almost like embarrassed and disgraced. And if you know something, Nasir El-Rufai is someone who is vindictive. Even in his book, Accidental Public Servant, he put it out there. This is someone that you saw as a child in primary school who a bully had bullied, I think beaten up. And for, I think, 3 months or so, he kept pouring salt in his food. So this same person, he was quite instrumental in bringing Tinubu. He knows what they did in bringing him down. Now he's angry at Tinubu. I know that Nasir El-Rufai is not that, he likes Peter Obi, is the best thing after. No, that's not it. But he wants as much as possible for Tinubu not to be sworn in again. So do we align on that? Yes. Is he vindictive enough to ensure that he wants that to happen? He's as far as he's not there for either money or for his own. He wants to ensure that Tinubu does not come. Because if Tinubu comes that, it's going to be a political whatever on him. It's going to take him that because this is somebody that have, sort of like disgraced you. And so he's doing everything to ensure that Tinubu doesn't come back. I don't want Tinubu to come back. So our goals align. Our values don't.
Okay.
And that's why I stand on that. You understand? And I tell you, of all the people that were there, I look at every one of them like, gosh, why am I here? But it's not about me. It's about those people that I told you that can never be in a room like this. It's for about a better Nigeria. And if I'm going to stand on that better Nigeria to ensure someone who has competence, character, capacity, who is going to give Nigeria good governance, gets into office, then I'm going to stay there. But if it was something like you saw me, I woke up, I'm now in what's this now? Nasir El-Rufai's camp or Pantami, God forbid now. What is that all about? Or if they say, for example, let's say Nasser Rufai is a presidential candidate right now, that Aisha will be in that camp. No way. I can't be in that camp. So for me, I'm focused on my candidate getting into office and doing the right thing for Nigeria. And by the way, I will hold him accountable. And if he does anyhow, we will drag him like small Jen. Because it's about Nigeria. My loyalty is to Nigeria. I've always said it. My loyalty is not to any candidate. And for me, wanting a Peter Obi is seeing someone who wants to do the work, who is ready to do the work, who has empathy, and who wants to give Nigeria the best. And if there's anywhere where he drops the ball and he does not give Nigeria the best, I'm gonna come after him also. So it's as simple as that. Who is that person? So at this moment, it's about who our goals have aligned to take someone. And then what I keep telling people, I didn't go to them. We didn't go to them. They are the ones that were in so-called ruling party. And I've come to do this. So because they've come, you now leave the room. Nah. We must ensure that we stay there and we ensure that Nigeria gets the best that it can get.
Lastly, and that has to do with women in governance. Nigeria is really behind in women in governance, and that's a cause for concern, most especially when you now have the reserved seats bill for women that is supposed to be passed by the National Assembly. The awareness is still going on. But how do we address this issue of, women being in governance, and how do we address this issue of how our women are supposed to, take up leadership role?
Lord have mercy. Do we want to be sincere or we want to be politically correct?
To be sincere.
Okay. If Nigeria was really sincere with itself, it will ban all men from being in office for the next 50 years and allow women take charge of the country. And let's see what it turns out to be. Because over 65 years now, we've had men in charge of the affairs of the country, and it's been a disaster. So that's one. The other thing is to say that when women are not allowed to be in office or be in leadership position the way they're supposed to be, it's like someone who is able-bodied, who has two legs, and the person decides to hobble on one leg and use only one. You're not going to run fast. You're not going to walk very fast. You're going to be dragging behind, whereas your other counterparts that are using both legs are getting far away. So that's the picture I want, people to paint and understand. When people talk about, how do we get women to be in leadership position, this is not about women. This is about institutions. This is about culture. This is about religion. This is about patriarchy. Everything that can be done has been done to make sure that a woman doesn't get into office. I remember when Dr. Obidient was running for office in 2019. She was my candidate then. And somebody said, a very close friend of mine said, he doesn't understand what this hype is all about. But women are allowed to run. Now, don't they run? Is there anybody that stopped them? Can't they? And I said to him, as good as Dr. Obidient is, she advises lots of countries, presidents, and all of that. She knows economy. She knows policy. She's been VP of the World Bank and all of that. When she's running for office, somebody will say to her, a woman cannot be president. But your qualification, me and you are struggling on this. Because you are a man, nobody ever says to you, a man cannot be president. And for him, that was his aha moment. He had a paradigm shift. He could understand that. So that's where we come from. Because we have a culture. And let me tell you something. Ironically, girls are the ones who are trained to be leaders right from childhood. They are told to even be responsible for their brothers who are older than them. You will see a girl but you were there, why didn't you stop me? The brother is older. She's the one too. But when it now comes to leadership role, then she's told that she's a woman. It starts from family meetings, where there are some family meetings where women are not allowed to talk. But guess what? When they need money, it is the women that will be asked to raise money for them. So there are communities where they will tell you a woman cannot enter here, cannot do this. Then the religion is brought in. They'll say, a woman cannot be a leader. So a lot of things have been done to ensure that the woman is put down, and no matter what skills she has, she's not allowed to fully be in the place that she can be to contribute. So that's one. And I always also say to people who say, but this is, I say, look, I've never heard of a man who they say they will divorce them if they don't vote in a certain way. But guess what? A lot of women are told that. You either be divorced or you do. We had a situation whereby a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was peeping to see the way his wife voted. Do you remember? He was looking. He had to look at his this thing to see the way his wife voted. That's one on that way. We've also seen situations where they will tell you, as a woman, you don't own your voice. You don't own your vote. They say one man, one vote. It's a lie. Because most people, a good number of people control their women's vote. In short, a lot of women in Nigeria don't even control their own lives. We need to go back to this. This is where institutions come in. You will see in the hospital, a man will say that, a woman, she's supposed to have CS. He will say that his wife, they should not do CS on her, and doctors will wait. How do you have a right over another person's life? I remember the first time I wanted to go into operation, and the doctor is telling me, I need my husband's signature. I said, whose body are you operating on? He said to me, so why do I need my husband's signature on it? I said, no, I will sign on it. When I'm unconscious, my husband has total control. If I'm unconscious, whatever he says, even if he says stop treatment, because I trust him enough to know he will make the best decision for her. Whatever decision he makes, I'm okay with it. Even if he says stop treatment, let her die, whatever, I know he's making the best decision for me. You understand? When I'm alive, in my own senses, nobody has a right over this body except me. And so there's so much that has been done to put the woman there. And if we want to get the woman there, we need to be intentional about it, because research has shown that states and countries where women lead, they get more good governance. Even during COVID, these countries that were led by women were the ones who were able to manage the crisis more effectively. And so if you have women in leadership position, you do better. Let me give you an example. In the banking industry, you see a lot of women leaders. Yeah. That came from policy that someone led. I think that's the emir of Kano State, Sanusi Lamido, His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, when he was CBN governor. He put certain things in place that you are not seeing this. So if we want that to happen, let's just not sit down and say it will be us being clever by half. If we say, okay, what have women done? Women have been doing a lot, but they are not allowed to be. So right now, what we should be asking is that what are the institutions doing? What laws are being passed? What is the state doing, the country doing, the nation doing to ensure that women take up their rightful position and contribute to the governance of this country and the leadership of this country? And that's where the reserve bill is coming, because we have seen countries that have used it to ensure that women go in. So that, sometimes you need to see certain things before you understand it. You understand it. Sometimes if people don't see, if you keep telling them, because people have been conditioned all their lives that women cannot be leaders and all of that. That's the conditioning that they have. So if they pass this law and they now see women actually doing the work, then they will be able to understand. And I think it's supposed to be for 4 election cycles?
Yeah, 4 election cycles.
If I'm not saying, so that's 16 years. After 16 years, you take it out, then they then should be in a position where they are able to compete with every other person. Yeah. But right now, you see a lot of people who are fighting that, because there are people who feel that until a woman is put down, they can't be, they are not up there enough. So people have a lot of, you see some men who have a lot of insecurity, and what they want to do is to just ensure that the woman is done. And then lastly is to add that there is something that is always being done, where a woman is made to take the crime of another. Or if a woman has done something wrong, then they use it to brush every other woman that is there. And when they will always say to us, but women have been allowed to be in office, and what they've done, see Desiani, when Desiani was allowed, there's a lot of corruption and all of that. You know what I say to them, such people who say that? I say, for every Desiani, there are thousands of Dasukis. And so if Dasuki has not stopped a man from running for office, there is no way Desiani will stop a woman from running for office.
Wow, thank you so much. That was a very good way to hang it. Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
it's been an interesting discussion here on Speak Your Truth. We talked, of course, on the area of issues, the 2027 election, and of course, the ADC and the consensus candidate that she, said should be good for the ADC if indeed they want to win the 2027 election, which is, of course, the person of Peter Obi. And, of course, the inclusion of women in governance. And that's our episode for today on Speak Your Truth. My name is Ademola Lawrence. Join us next week as we get another interesting one on Speak Your Truth. Bye for now. I'll see you next week.